What if your child can be shaped by genes they never even got? In medicine, we see this mistake all the time. People hear genetics and think destiny. This study says the story is far more human. A new report from University College London looked at something called genetic nurture. That means parents may influence children through the home they create, not just through DNA inheritance. The researchers reviewed 12 published studies. They also ran their own analysis using genetic data from thousands of families in the United Kingdom. Altogether, the review covered more than 38,000 families across the United Kingdom, Australia, the Netherlands, Iceland, and the United States. That gives this question real weight. They used polygenic scores. That is a way to combine tiny effects from huge numbers of genetic variants linked to traits like education. Think of it like a weather forecast, not a verdict. It suggests patterns across groups. It does not decide one child's future. Here is the headline result. Parents' education-related genetic scores still predicted children's school outcomes, even after researchers accounted for genes the child actually inherited. Why would that happen? Because parents with stronger education-linked tendencies may read more. They may buy books, create routines, push homework, and build a home that rewards learning. UCL said those non-inherited effects can work through ordinary differences in reading habits and access to learning resources, not some hidden genetic command from afar. And this is not coming out of nowhere. Earlier peer-reviewed work in molecular psychiatry and a large meta-analysis found the same pattern. Parental education-related polygenic scores can predict children's educational outcomes even after controlling for the child's own score, which is exactly the logic behind genetic nurture. So the child benefits from an environment shaped by the parent's traits. That can happen whether or not the child inherited the same genetic variants. That is the key twist. Some of what looks purely genetic may actually travel through habits, structure, expectations, and access. The report also found a more tentative link with mental health-related traits. That included hyperactivity, inattention, emotional symptoms, conduct problems, peer problems, and prosocial behavior. Here, the middle gets even more interesting. In the UCL report, the strongest indirect effects showed up around age 3, and they were tied to parental tendencies linked with motivation, perseverance, emotional regulation, and self-control. The authors suggest those non-cognitive traits may be especially important early, when children depend most on caregiver structure and co-regulation. That broader idea fits mainstream child development science. The CDC says early experiences with caregivers strongly affect how the brain grows, and that talking, reading, playing, and responsive care help build healthy development, while chronic stress can do the opposite. The American Academy of Pediatrics makes a similar point. The first 1,000 days are a critical developmental window, and brain plasticity starts declining by the time children reach kindergarten. That matters because early childhood is when brains and behavior are developing fast. Supportive caregiving during those years can shape learning, coping, and social skills. Public health agencies have said for years that early childhood is a critical period for brain and emotional development. This report fits that wider picture. But here is the part people should not miss. When researchers adjusted for family socioeconomic status and parental education, the indirect genetic effect dropped by about 75%. That is huge. It suggests much of this so-called non-inherited genetic influence may actually reflect resources, money, time, stability, books, childcare, safer neighborhoods, better schools. UCL's own summary makes that implication explicit. Once family socioeconomic position and parental education were accounted for, most of the apparent non-inherited signal shrank away. In plain English, what can look like biology may often be family advantage wearing a biological mask. In other words, family advantage can carry a biological-looking signal. If you ignore that, you can tell the wrong story about why children struggle or thrive. This is why the authors urge future research to focus on resource-based disparities behind underachievement. That is where policy can actually act. And it matches older genetic nurture research showing that non-transmitted parental variants can still predict educational outcomes through the family environment they help shape. Now the guardrails. The effects in this report were small. They were not deterministic. They cannot predict any one child's future. That point is critical. This was not a license to rank families by DNA. It was a warning against simplistic thinking from both sides. Genes matter, environment matters, and in real life they constantly blend together. The original report was published by UCL researchers in a Nuffield-funded project called Understanding the Intergenerational Transmission of Educational Underachievement. The broader science builds on earlier peer-reviewed work in journals including Molecular Psychiatry and Twin Research and Human Genetics. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this. A child is never just born into genes. A child is born into habits, stress, opportunity, and care. And that means early support for families is not charity. It may be one of the most powerful developmental interventions we have.